Hey guys, what's up? This is Hex, and today I'm going to be doing a new video for a series I did a while back called Elder Scrolls Online for Beginners. So if you're not really new to Elder Scrolls Online and pretty much get the gist of what the game's about, then I would probably avoid this video. However, if you're somebody who's just coming into ESO for the first time and might even feel a little bit lost, about what to do or what some of the mechanics are, I'm here to help. So what I'm going to be covering today is maps. Now I'm not going to be covering every single thing about maps, but I'll cover more of the interesting aspects of it, stuff that you may not know, coming into the game. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, before I get started with the map, I first want to cover something I feel is important when you're traveling around Tamriel, and that is your compass, which is located on the top center of your screen. Now, like any compass, it's going to have, of course, marked with your north, south, east, and west, but if you notice, I have some icons that appear on there as well. Now, when you're traveling around each zone, you're going to be coming across, dungeons, delves, public dungeons, and so on. And when you get closer to them, if you haven't discovered them yet, they're going to come up on your compass as being a black icon. And of course, if you check your map, you'll see on the map as well. Now, in order to fully unlock it, this black icon on your map, you have to get a certain distance away from it, or just be practically on top of it. And then once you do that, it will be on your map for good. You don't have to worry about trying to re-unlock it. Now you notice the icons I have here are white, and what that means is I did certain requirements, to change the color. For example, when you go to a way shrine, all you gotta do is just visit the way shrine, and it just changes it from black to white. If you beat let's say a world boss, for example, it will change it to white, or if you clear out a dungeon, it will change it to white. Now there's some like this right here directly in front of me, which is pertaining to a quest that I'm currently on right now, which is the Dragon's Lair quest. Now I've already accepted the quest, and so it's in white right now. It's telling me on the right, it's telling me where, what I have to do to further the quest. Now, if I take a look in the direction of this icon, it says obtain forged credentials, which is one of the things that I need to get. And not only does it tell me that, but it also tells me, where it's at in relation to where I'm at. So it says, for example, it's below me. Now, this is particularly helpful if you're in a dungeon and you're trying to find a particular item, because dungeons have, various levels to them. So if you're having trouble trying to find an item, or maybe trying to find your way out, if you just go ahead and just mess around with the R3 and just kind of tilt it, up and down to where to where your writing appears above, the compass, then it can tell you whether it's below, above, or on the same level. So we're going to go ahead and open up our map. So for PS4 users, that's just simply tapping on the spacebar on your controller, and there you have it. Now I'm not going to go through every little single detail of the map. I just want to cover more stuff I feel that's really, really important. Now, if you notice on the bottom, it'll say legend. That's what you want to find out what some of these icons mean. So if you go ahead and press L3, it will tell you specifically what they are. The only problem with this legend is it doesn't cover every icon that's on the map. It needs to really be updated, honestly, but with ZeniMax working on various things, I'd say this is probably on the back burner. But this also will not tell you specifically what it means. It may tell you the name of it, you know, what the icon means, but it doesn't really go into more detail about it. But I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Now, at the very bottom, you'll also see, you know, next to the legend, you'll see Open Zone Guide. So if you go ahead and hold down square, it will give you like this list of achievements, you know, of, you know, areas that you've visited, stuff that, you know, that you've beaten, and so on. So for this, for example, I need one more point of interest to complete this particular section. And it looks like over here on the Morrowind Sky Shard Hunter, I need 2 more. And if you notice that on the right, it gives me hints on where these are at. Now, if you get a little bit, if you're concerned that you're like, oh God, I'm not really good with you know, clues or whatever, don't worry, you will be eventually, because you'll be running around these areas so many times, you'll eventually start to pick up on certain landmarks, and then eventually the clues will start to make sense. Now, if you go ahead and open, let me go back to the zone guide again. If I go ahead and hit you know, square, you just tap it for Explore Zone. The quest that I'm currently on in this particular zone, it tells me where to go. So for some of you newer people that might be feeling overwhelmed about like how big the map is and wondering how you're going to be able to find this stuff, this makes things a lot easier. I mean, it still gives you like the icons on the map, as you can see, but sometimes it's a little bit easy to get lost on you know, for those icons to get lost on the map. So, you know, having like this pulsating, you know, circle or whatever just makes things a heck of a lot easier. Now, some of these icons I'm going to cover are just a few, but I feel like they're very important. For example, you have way shrines. Now, way shrines are basically fast travel areas. You can travel from way shrine to way shrine for free. You know, you just highlight, like if I was over here, for example, and I wanted to go here, you know, just highlight it, press X, and then you go. But since I'm over here, let's say I want to go to a way shrine that's over here, and I would just highlight it, hit X, and you notice on the right it says cost of recall is 146 gold, so that means it's going to charge me for it. Now, so let's say, for sake of argument, let's say I travel to this, I get to the way shrine, and I start making my way over here, and then I'm like, oh crap, I need to go back, but I don't feel like walking, so I'm just going to go ahead and fast travel back to here. If you try to fast travel after you did it recently, the price will go up. So just be wary of that. Now over here, on the icon or on the legend, it has it listed as like a group boss, but most people call it world boss monsters or world bosses. And these are special bosses that you have to have a group to take on. I know this might discourage some of you players that like to play solo, but trust me on this one, the rewards are pretty good for it. And so what you do is, you know, even if you don't feel like, you know, you want to be in a group and you still want to do it solo, there is a way you can do it solo, and that's if you just simply wait at the entrance to where, you know, the monster is at, and just wait for other people to show up. And then when they start attacking, you start attacking. I mean, it's not like you have to be in a group with them. You're just all attacking at the same time. If you happen to be by yourself and there's nobody showing up, and trust me, you do not want to take these on by yourself, just get on chat and just ask for help, you know, and people will generally come and help you. So over right here, we have a delve. Now delves, I'll get out here in a minute. Delves are caves or dungeons where a single player can go in there and have very little difficulty. I mean, there'll still be still a bit of a challenge, but you're basically going to be able to do it by yourself. You don't need a group. I mean, you can group up with somebody if you want to, but you don't typically need a group uh, to go into these and beat them. There's typically a special boss in there, but he's usually not. I mean, he's tougher than the NPCs that are in there, but you're still going to be able to beat him. Also, there's going to be some sky shards. There's also going to be a sky shard that's in there. So every delve that you go into, there's always going to be a sky shard that's in it. So make sure you do not leave until you beat the main boss that's in there, you know, and complete the quest in there as well as find the sky shard. That way you can just completely get it done. Now, see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. This right here is the icon for a public dungeon. Now, public dungeons are a little bit different from delves. They're a lot tougher, and you have to really have a group with it. But again, in case you're a solo player and are panicking, you know, don't worry, because you can do the exact same thing as you do with like world bosses. Like if all you gotta do is wait at the entrance and just wait for other players to come rolling in there, and you just simply follow them. That way, you know, you're kind of by yourself, but you're kind of, you know, following other people almost as though you're a group, but not quite. And, you know, because, you know, they're completing this stuff too, and then you're able to do it with, you know, with not as, you know, because if you try to go in there by yourself, it's going to be a hell of a lot tougher unless you're a high level. As far as like, you know, like bosses go, there are bosses that are in there. And if you go into, back out of this, go to journal, and then you go onto your achievements, and go into dungeons, and we want to go to public dungeons, if I can find it. Oh, there it is. Public dungeons have quite a few, you know, main bosses in them, and as you go and find these bosses, and sometimes you have to have a requirement for a boss to appear. For example, you know, if you kill like creatures like all the creatures in a particular room, for example, then a boss, you know, for that particular room will appear. You know, it just varies from boss to boss. Now, as far as the sky shards go, I've seen some public dungeons where it had sky shards in it, and I've seen some that didn't have a damn thing in it. But still, it's worth to look around to try to find, you know, to find what you're looking for. Now, this particular icon right here is called an instanced dungeon, or what I call four-man dungeons. This one you will have to group on. You can wait for people at the entrance and ask if they want to group up with you, but this one you definitely have to have a group for, because if you try to go in by yourself, even if you follow other people in, it will transport you to a version where it's just by yourself. So you want to make sure that you group up with at least 3 to 4 people. Now, there are 2 types of dungeons. Let me get back to it since I accidentally got out of it. You have, you know, various versions. You have the version 1 and version 2, which is a little bit harder. Now, if you go, let's say you don't have anybody to group up with, you can go into your menu and go to the activity finder and just simply find a specific dungeon that you want to go into. So let's say I want to go into, you know, Fungal Grotto, you know, 1, and you can join the queue by hitting square, and, you know, eventually you'll get the people or just join another party that's actually running through there. Just to make sure that you have specifically what your role is in the group. So if you're like a tank, make sure you have tank highlighted, or if you're a Night Blade or a mage, just make sure you have DPS highlighted, which is the damage. Also, for here, make sure, you know, if you want to choose a veteran dungeon, maybe you want more of a challenge, just hit L1 or R1 and you can switch them out, you know, back and forth. Now the difference between it is normal, if you defeat the main boss in a instance dungeon, you'll get the actual collectible bust, you know, like a statue that you can put in your home or what have you. And for veterans, you get if you beat the boss, you know, the boss, you get a specific type of gear that's tied to that boss. So, you know, so if you're looking for, you know, really cool, you know, like say armor pieces, it's always good to, you know, to kind of hit, you know, veteran dungeons. Just make sure you have a pretty good, reliable group. Get back out of here and get back to... Okay, so... And this icon right here, which is not even really listed on the legend, this is called a trial. Now, trial is actually an advanced version of the 4-man. This is one that you have to have... They recommend having 12 people do it at the same time, and that's a little bit difficult to do. I kind of really wished, and maybe they'll have this at some point, I kind of really wish they had, like, you know, like kind of like a group finder for trials, you know, because it would just make things a whole lot easier. But if you're in a town, maybe somebody might be posting, you know, asking about, you know, hey, does anybody want to do a trial? You know, that might be a way that you can join in and do it that way. Now, trials are really, really super difficult, and they are for, you know, really experienced players. And I can't remember offhand what the level that you have to be to do that. I can't really want to say you have to be at a champion point level, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But you really do have to be experienced. I wouldn't recommend, if you're like just starting out, I would probably avoid trials at all costs, at least until you get into the champion point system, which I'll explain in another video at some point. But that's all I basically wanted to talk about for today as far as like maps go. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if there's any questions pertaining to maps or the compass or, you know, anything that I've talked about, don't hesitate to put it in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. And I hope to talk to you guys real soon. Take care.